Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are getting into a really critical but honestly often overlooked part of any cloud strategy, FinOps Practice Operations. Think of it as the secret sauce, the thing that makes a FinOps culture actually work. So, let me ask you a question. Does it ever feel like your cloud strategy has all the right parts, but it just isn't quite moving forward the way you want it to? Well, you might be missing the engine. And today, we're going to pop the hood and explore that operational core that drives everything. All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start in what I call the engine room to see what this practice is really all about. Then, we'll meet the people who power it. We'll cover the day-to-day grind, map out the maturity journey, see how everyone, and I mean everyone, plays a part, and then figure out your next move. Okay, first stop, the FinOps engine room. Let's really dig into what it is, and more importantly, why it is the absolute foundation for the entire practice. So what are we talking about exactly? FinOps Practice Operations is basically the set of all the ongoing activities you need to build and operate a FinOps practice. Now, the key word there is ongoing. This is not a one-and-done project, it's the continuous work, the engine, that drives a culture of financial accountability. Here's another way to think about it. If optimizing your cloud spend is the star of the show, then practice operations is the essential supporting cast. It's all that crucial behind-the-scenes work. Creating the plans, building bridges between teams, and really pushing for that big cultural shift. Okay, so we know what it is. But now, who makes it all happen? Well, this is where we got to get past this simple idea of just a FinOps team. And this is so important. There's no single template for what a FinOps team looks like. Every single organization is different, so the structure of the group that enables FinOps is going to look a little different everywhere you go. It's not one size fits all. You might see a dedicated central team, or maybe a virtual committee made up of people from finance and engineering. Or you might see a hub and spoke model where a core team has people embedded in other departments. The right model? It completely depends on what your organization actually needs. And here's the real kicker. No matter what structure you choose, strong leadership is absolutely non-negotiable. These FinOps drivers, as they're sometimes called, they're the ones who encourage and enable the huge changes that you need to really succeed with the cloud. All right, so we know who's involved, but what are they actually doing day to day? Let's get down to brass tacks and break down the core operational tasks.
It really boils down to 4 key things. First, they take that high-level strategy and turn it into a real implementation plan. Then, they are constantly working to mature the practice, always pushing it to that next level. Of course, they also manage the daily flow of work and tasks, and, so critically, they integrate all that FinOps data and all those processes into the wider organization, making sure everyone is speaking the same language.
This brings us to a really central idea, the maturity journey. Because let's be honest, building a FinOps practice doesn't happen overnight. It's an evolution, and it's best described in 3 simple stages: crawl, walk, and then run. So, at a really high level, the journey looks kind of like this. You start out in the crawl stage, just doing initial planning. From there, you move into walk, where your processes get more established. And the final goal, the end game, is the run stage, which is all about continuous improvement and deep integration across the whole business. So, let's start at the very beginning, right? The crawl stage. This is where every single FinOps journey kicks off. When you're in this stage, you're just getting started. You're doing those first assessments, trying to figure out who's going to lead the charge, and putting together a pretty basic staffing plan and budget. And importantly, your processes for making decisions are probably still pretty informal, maybe a little immature. Now, once you find your footing and get a little bit of momentum, you start moving into the walk stage, and this is where the practice starts to get some real structure. In the walk stage, things are getting more serious. The FinOps team's role is well understood now, and you're seeing adoption spread. You're starting to have regular planning sessions, and you've hit a huge milestone. You realize you actually need a formal, documented way to make decisions. That's a big step. And finally, we get to the run stage. This is the goal, right? This is that aspirational state of high maturity and really deep integration. When you're at the run stage, FinOps is just how your company operates. It's in the DNA. It's adopted by pretty much everyone. The team has a stable budget, planning is frequent and almost routine, and that comprehensive decision model we talked about, it's keeping everything running like a well-oiled machine. This is what we're aiming for. Now, a huge theme throughout that whole maturity journey is collaboration. A mature FinOps practice is not the job of just one team.
It absolutely requires breaking down those old silos and getting everyone involved.
Just look at the dynamic between leadership and the FinOps practitioner. Leadership provides that crucial high-level support, the funding, the resources, the political backing. And in return, the practitioner is on the ground, doing the work, researching goals, defining needs, and driving adoption with all the key stakeholders.
And this might just be the most critical partnership of all: finance and engineering. Finance brings their expertise on financial tools and big decisions, like whether to prepay for reservations. At the same time, engineering brings all that deep technical knowledge about their tools and how to manage things like cost anomalies. When these two teams work together seamlessly, that is where the magic happens.
So we've covered what this thing is, who does it, and what that journey looks like. Now for the most important part, how do you actually turn all this understanding into action?
How do you know if you're winning? Well, here are some really concrete signs of a successful practice. You have clear KPIs that actually prove the business value of your savings. People across the company are actually using your dashboards to make smarter decisions. You have documented decision models so you can act faster. And, maybe most importantly, information is being shared openly, creating a true culture of ownership.
If you take away only one thing from this, let it be this: building a FinOps practice is not a project with a start and an end date. It's a continuous, ongoing cultural shift in how your organization thinks about and manages the value of the cloud. And that brings us right to our final question for you. Every single organization using the cloud is somewhere on this journey. So I want you to take a hard look at your own practice and just ask yourself, are you crawling, walking, or are you running? Thanks so much for joining me.